for being here. On my Friday morning, December 14th, 2012, I was out to breakfast with my girlfriends. We were all discussing what our kids were getting for Christmas, the gingerbread house making party that we were all supposed to attend in our children's classrooms that afternoon. I knew this was going to be a difficult day, despite the Christmas spirit we all had, because the very next day my family was moving to Colorado, away from Newtown, away from the life we've made there. Little did I know then just how difficult that day was going to be. In the midst of our conversation, one of my friends gets a call from the town saying, "Shooting in Newtown." We all discussed how we remember there was an attempted robbery years ago at one of the local banks in town, so we just all assumed it must be at a bank. Then another one of my friends, she checks Facebook, and there was a posting that said, "Shooting at a Newtown school." Well, I think it must be at the high school. And just as I think this, my friend sitting next to me gets a call from her husband. She immediately begins crying and she shouts, "It's at Sandy Hook. Our two boys are at a house with her husband. They just saw their teacher and a classmate get shot." I didn't wait another second. I grabbed my jacket and I ran out to my car. While I was driving, I called my husband, who was in Denver. No answer. Then I think, what about our daughter, Mila, who is in 4th grade at the school? Where is she? I know our son is out of the school at this yellow house. He had just witnessed horrific things, but at least I know he is safe and out of the school. But what about our daughter? I also know our other two kids are at the intermediate school in town, but I think is Mila still inside the school? I finally arrive at the firehouse. There weren't too many emergency vehicles yet, and I park right in front. I run into the firehouse, and I find our daughter. She is safe. A moment of relief. Her friends were all asking me to call their parents, so I call a few, and then I explained to our daughter what her brother Riken saw, and he is at a yellow house. As we walk out of the firehouse, I see one of my friends who was at breakfast with me. She asked if I have seen her son. He is also in 1st grade, but he's in a different class. I say all the classes are inside the firehouse. She says she looked, but she can't find anyone from his class. I tell her they must still be evacuating. And we both believe this, since the whole class is missing. Mila is anxious to see her brother Riken. She says she has been worried this whole time about him. She explains what she heard and how the art room classroom door wouldn't lock. So they all had to hide in the art room teacher's office. All she wants to do is see her brother, but we can't seem to find this yellow house. She still talks about this moment as being the worst part of that whole day for her, not being able to see Riken right away. I find my friend whose husband is at the house with our boys, and I call him. He directs me to the house. We finally see Riken. Another moment of relief. When we both see him, he's carrying a lollipop in each hand, and he begins to cry when he sees us. Riken says how worried he was about Mila, and she says the same thing to him. We all hug, and we talk a minute before we head back to the firehouse. Then Riken wants to share with us what he saw just a few minutes before inside his classroom. He said he was at his desk doing his Friday news book, and he heard loud noises. His teacher, Miss Soto, told them to all go to the back of the classroom and to sit on the carpet. Just as they do this, the gunman enters his classroom. His teacher didn't have time to lock the door, since that required her to go out into the hallway and lock the handle with a key. He then says The gunman pointed the gun at each of them, and then he found Miss Soto and shot her and one of his classmates. He said then he knew this was a very bad guy since he just shot a child. Reckon says he watched them the whole time, and when he reached for another magazine and Reckon saw his opportunity and he ran out of the classroom door.
Standing by Miss Soto's side, Jesse reportedly shouted for his classmates to run while the gunman reloaded. He was killed, but he helped save 9 other lives that day.
When he got outside, he ran along the sidewalk to the firehouse, the way they had practiced in fire drills. It would have been much safer and quicker for him to run through the parking lot, but he was following the rules. When we finally saw the police report recently, we found out that the gunman had shot 9 bullets through the windows of Reichen's classroom, past that same sidewalk that the kids were running down. And when Reichen got to the firehouse, it was locked. It was a volunteer firehouse, and there was nobody there at that time in the morning. So they decided to just keep running, until a woman saw the 4 of them and sat them down outside this yellow house. They were shouting and crying, and the man who owned the house came in and invited them in, came out and invited them in. And then Reichen asked me, was it okay that I went into this man's house? I say, of course it's okay. He says, you tell me not to talk to strangers or go with people that I don't know. I reassure him he did the right thing. But it's so hard to hear this come out of my 7-year-old's mouth. There's so many emotions going through my body and my mind at the moment. I have to remind myself just to stay calm and get through the next minutes. So we walk back to the firehouse. It is now chaos, something like I've never seen before, or hope to never see again. There's every kind of emergency vehicle there. There's police officers in every kind of uniform, carrying guns I have never seen before. And then I see my friend again, and she says she still cannot find her son. I can see the worry on her face now, especially that I have both of my kids. She asked Reichen if he has seen him. He says no. What has happened? But I snap back in the moment when I hear an announcement. They tell all the children to line up with their teachers in the fire bays and for the parents to wait outside. I am not waiting outside. I walk my children into the fire bays and I explain to the police officer that's inside that my son will not find his teacher in here and I'm going to wait with my children. She doesn't have anything to say to this, so we wait in the fire bays with the Milo's class teacher. As I look around, I see most of the teachers crying. They're trying to count their students. I would find out later that there was not one teacher who brought out their emergency information.